So how y'all doing? I need a drink tonight. I'm telling you. Uh, what's up, Pinky? Oh, thank you, babe. Thank you. Just a little something, something. Um, Pulled out the closet. I wasn't going to wear it. Then I was going to wear it. And then had some stuff that wasn't clean. So I figured, what the hell. Yeah. Well, thank you, Jen. Jen Tifa. I'm up in here, moving the studio around, clearing some things out. Okay, I'm seeing some clicks, some thumbs up, and what have you. Come on in, say hello, drop me a what's up, a thumbs, a heart, or something. Just show a brother love. Um, all of this tears for fears has been struck in my head, stuck in my head. It struck me in my head, and then it's been stuck in my head. Um, I don't want my thing up like that. I used to be perfect with the little pocket squares. Now they fight me. I think they have a life of their own now because I don't wear them every day. I think they get mad and they want to do what they want to do. So I'm like, okay, whatever, man, whatever. So, how y'all doing, people? Little bit. Welcome back. How's my baby doing with that pretty little grandchild? Hmm. Man, I'm telling you, I needed to drink tonight. It's been like crazy. It's been like crazy. It's been productive, but it's been busy as hell, and it has me running. Um, Had a woman cleaning up, and she's been MIA, missing in action, and sometimes my back start acting up, so I can't do what I want to do, but I do it because I got to do it. If I don't do it, then it don't get done. So that's what it is. And then I cleaned up my studio here, try to um, do away with some of the clutter. But all is well on this end. I'm just going through some of the stuff that's going on. And I don't know if you've been paying attention. I'm sure you have. I'm really tired of hearing all of this who's getting indicted and this, that, and the other. And there's all these rich folks who ain't got nothing else to do. Um, so it is what it is. You know, it's good that it's them and not us, on one hand. On the other hand, I think they're wasting taxpayers' money because there's going to be a lot of deals struck. There's going to be a lot of people found not guilty, so forth and so on. So it is what it is. We're just stuck in a time where suing people is what they do. You turn on the TV, and I'm tired of looking at Morgan and Morgan commercials. I'm tired of looking at all these personal injury and blah 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 blah, and then you switch channels, and whether it's CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, or the local news, then we start hearing about Biden's son and Biden and impeachment and yet another grand jury, and then we hear of what's going on. So I don't know. It's just crazy to me when I think of all that's going on. So my theme for the night has been that Tears for Fears, and I wanted to play it, but the last time I played something without permission, um, the company confiscated my podcast. So I'm gonna just say everybody wants to rule the world now. And it's so true because when we look around the world, and I'm not hyped tonight like I usually am. And I guess I go through these periods where I get real excited because I feel like there's hope. And then I go through these other, not depressive in the clinical sense, but depressive in the sense that is anything really going to come out this? Or are we just spinning our wheels? Are we just doing this for, you know, and who's going to pay the price? Nobody but poor people, you know, the U's and I's, not the Dems and those that are doing this, that, and the other. So, you know, mic check, mic check. How I'm coming through. Talk to me. I guess I'm doing okay for as YouTube is concerned. I haven't gotten any feedback. What about on Facebook? How we doing over there, people? We good? We good? I got a couple new people on YouTube. What's up, bro, man? What's up, bro? Um, like I said, I'm not as hype. I'm not depressed. I'm just, and I guess I'm feeling what you feeling. We've had so much going on that we've been super saturated, oversaturated, and you feel like a sponge that just has too much water. You know, it just when you pick it up, the water is just dripping. You know, you can't wring it out, so to speak. So it's ineffective, and that's where we are right now. And so I want to talk about a couple things tonight. I want to talk about everybody ruling the world. I want to talk about why we are where we are. And I want to ask the question, why are we where we are? So feel free to kind of chime in. I'm going to tell you something that you probably know. And then I'm going to tell you something that I hope you know, that I was reminded of. Before I do all of that, I want to go ahead and say, welcome to the show tonight. Um, as I always start off on a Thursday night, and tonight is just different. I don't know why. There's something in the air. I want to say welcome to the show tonight. Before I even get started, I always want to remind you of all the things you could be doing on a Thursday night. You choose to be here listening to me break this nonsense down. But tonight is all about what does not make sense. And if it does make sense, then what's to become of it? My name is Hank Batiste. This is OMITdaLOGIC. I'm your host tonight. The voices in my head, like I said, they're stressed and they're stretched. They're stretched to a breaking point. And that is just because there's just been too much too soon. And I just don't see good, to be honest with you. I hate to be the gloomy Gus, but our immediate future isn't looking too good, people. And I'm going to just be honest with you. So that's where I am. And I guess that's why I'm feeling what I'm feeling. So good evening. Welcome to the show. Welcome to the voices in my head. Let me know what you're feeling. Are you feeling when you look at the news or when you go somewhere, are you bombarded with all of this foolishness and you've got to a point where you feel like you're breaking? Or what's going on? And I meant to put the question out there today, but I didn't want to depress so many people that nobody showed up. So 3 questions for tonight. Is it just me? Or is every leader around the globe want to be an autocratic dictator? Is it just me? Do you see it? Do you see what's happening in Israel with Netanyahu? And now we see Putin and Kim Van June, they're buddies. And it reminded me of something because China has been backing Russia in their fight against Ukraine. And on one hand, I've been saying, like, Ukraine is really not our thing, it's really not just our business. But on the other hand, when I see these foreign powers coming together, and what they really want is to see the downfall of us as a country, then, the hair stands up on my neck. So I say, is it just me? Or does everybody see that? Or are you seeing that all of these people want to be dictators? Everybody wants to be like Putin, even Netanyahu in Israel. So we see Israel, I don't know what they're going to do other than try to eradicate Iraq, Iran, and the Palestinians. So they may be standing alone at some point. I look at Russia and the alliances they have with China and now with Korea. And then I'm reminded, so your history lesson for tonight, it goes back to right after the Korean War. And I know you'll say, how the hell does this man remember all this nonsense? I do not know. Honestly, I don't. But after the Korean War in about 1961, Russia, China, and North Korea signed a treaty. Basically, Russia was the USSR then. So the only thing that has changed since then is the USSR is now just Russia. And then I look at what's happening in Ukraine, and I said this before, I said it 1,000 times, but I feel like it's time for Europe to get into it and not wait on America to come in and save the day, especially when we're at a point where America don't look like she could save herself. So I guess that's what's leading to my train of thought and where I am. So my second question is this. How do you feel about all of these? The thing with Trump, we expected that. But all of this pursuance of Biden and his son, and and now looking at proceedings for, I don't even want to say it. If Trump needed to be impeached twice and it never happened, and as much as I have come to the dislike of Joe Biden's ego not wanting to bow out and turn over the chair to someone who's a little younger and a little bit more enthusiastic, energetic, with some fresh ideas that could really do something on the global frontier, I don't like what's happening to him. And finally, I'm going to ask the question that I asked last week, because you've had a week to think about it. I'm listening to MSNBC, I'm listening to CNN, and they're the only two networks that feel like Trump will be convicted. And then they say if he's convicted, when he wins the election. So everybody knows that the only way he can avoid going to prison is to become president again. And a sitting president cannot be convicted. That's the one thing that he learned during his stay on Pennsylvania Avenue. This is the motivation for him being what he's being, and doing what he's doing. So, forgot to turn my ringers off on my phone, and I'll call my daughter back. So I'll see what's going on with her later. She just called both of my phones. Um, the reason I say things look so bleak, and pardon the interruption, the reason I say things look so bleak is because in that extreme chance that Trump is convicted, we're not even talking about waiting for appeals. We're not even talking about waiting to see if he gets sentenced or what type of sentence he get. America has been bowing down. I feel one of the reasons we are where we are is because the justice system has not taken, I'm sorry, because the justice system has not taken a strong enough stance against all of these so-called, they call themselves patriots. I call them domestic terrorists. If it were a black group, if it were a Hispanic group, if it were any other group other than white folks, the FBI would be doing the National Guard would be doing it, everybody from local police to federal homeland security and so forth and so on would be doing everything within their power and using all resources at their disposal to eradicate any type of threat. Because they have not done that, these groups of domestic terrorists are terrorizing people. And what's at stake is this little feeble thing that we refer to as a democracy. This is what has me so out of place. This is what has me so displaced in my head that I just can't think straight, and I'm perplexed. I'm not confused. I'm really pissed off. So if this happens, we know what's going to happen. And there are so many people who are like ostriches with their heads in the sand, pretending like it's not going to happen. And then there are those other people who say, it's all God's way, it's in God's hand. God gave us the power of choice so we can do something. God enabled David to fight the giant Goliath. So God does not mean for us to just be passive and lay down and wait on the slaughter. So don't tell me it's a religious thing and this, that, and the other. I'm not religious. I was raised in a Baptist church, but I'm very spiritual. And I don't believe that my God means for me to be overrun by this purest form of evil called power. All of this is about the pursuit of power. So before I go too far off that deep end, off that tangent, let me just talk about a couple of things. 1961, China, North Korea, and the USSR back then came to an agreement. They signed a treaty. What's so crazy about this, and this was in World War II, when it came to fighting Germany, I don't know if you guys remember this or even know this. Russia and the United States fought side by side to stamp out and eradicate the Third Reich, Hitler and Germany. And after the end of the World War, probably because America had a nuclear bomb, the USSR separated itself. instead of becoming part of NATO and continuing that alliance with the Americans or the United States of America, they went on and they started building their own power until they became a superpower in and of themselves. And I can't say that I really blame them, because if you use a nuclear bomb, it's the argument that I have for weapons, even assault rifles. They said, why does any man need an assault rifle? And I say, simply because those that oppose us have them. So I understand that when you see a country as powerful as the United States drop 2 nuclear bombs on Japan, you say to yourself, that's too much power for anybody to possess alone. So Russia parted ways. And China said, China had always fought the Japanese. There was always a war between the Chinese and the Japanese. But everybody started coming together to be as powerful as the United States. Because back then, even England didn't have one. So I kind of understand it. And then started the Cold War, where Russia was on one side, who was once our ally, and the United States was on the other side. And then people it turned into a basketball team. And people start picking sides. You can get with this, or you can get with that. You can get with this, or you can get with that. So since 1961, this is one of the few treaties that's still in effect. So when China looked at America giving weapons to Ukraine, and Russia, with all of these embargoes and against them, China stepped in. I told you before, one of the reasons that Russia is doing, or Putin is doing what he's doing, is because he wants to restore Russia to the glory of the USSR. So this is not just about Ukraine, but all of those Baltic and Balkan nations that used to be under the umbrella of the United Soviet Republic. So when I think about it, this is a European thing primarily. But every time America turns a blind eye, next thing you know, there's a world war. So I understand why we have to intervene. But this is the first time during the First World War and the Second World War, we had bliss over here, which means we didn't have this turmoil, this domestic turmoil. This is the first time since the Civil War that this country has been so divided. So it has my head in an uproar. And I said, where does this bullshit end? When does it stop? And then I go a step further because, like I said, when I think about what's happening with the Trump thing, We are always the ones who are in church, in the grocery store, walking down the street, in our schools, and we wind up on the 6 o'clock news and on t-shirts. So we're not prepared. So it has my head in this turmoil. As we say every day, if you come for me, you better pack a lunch. Because I'm not going to bring a knife to a gunfight. I'm not going to bring a 6-shooter up against a machine gun. But so many of my people are not prepared. My children, my grandchildren, your grandchildren, they're not prepared. I keep saying, people call me, they text me, they send me inbox messages, and they ask me the same questions over and over and over again. Do you think Trump is going to be convicted? Do you think Trump is going to jail? And I say, if he is convicted, then stand by. And then I'm watching TV this week. One of the things he's being prosecuted for is interference in the presidential elections by Russia. Well, now Putin is so bold, he's come out and he said that America prosecuting Trump is no more than a political stunt. If that's not interference, it should scare the bejesus out of folk. Anytime a Russian president, a premier, a dictator, an autocratic leader who everyone that has opposed him has died in a plane crash or with some radioactive plutonium. So why does he back Trump? Because Trump said he would end the Ukrainian war in a matter of days. Trump had the audacity to say that by America interfering, we all but forced Putin to do what he's doing. The pursuit of power. Let me move on. The European Union is kind of like the UN. Their business is to deal with conflicts on the continent of Europe. They talk about Asia as well. That's the only continent that shares a border on the same landmass, Europe and Asia. The European Union is talking about how to deal with this situation. But I think they should be more aggressive because now they're starting to admit something that I've been saying all along. This is nothing more than Putin trying to rebuild the USSR. The thing that we have to be concerned about, people, this 1961 pact, this 1961 treaty between Russia, China, and North Korea. The one thing that they all have in common is wanting to see this country fall. The biggest threat to democracy is not just Trump getting elected, but him wanting to be that type of autocratic dictator who does away with the democratic process altogether. What he does not know is his ego won't allow him to admit that he can't join that pact. He's never going to be admitted as one of them. So they would use him and us, and it would be like every great dynasty that has fallen by the wayside. So the voices in my head are perplexed. They're not depressed, but they're distressed. They're pissed off to the utmost of pissosity. Because I didn't want to come here tonight and have a history lesson on the events that led up to the First and Second World War, or the Korean War, or the ramifications and the fallouts. I wanted to come here and I wanted to talk some more about some things that really matter. I wanted to talk about the fact that it feels good these days. This has been the most conflicted week that I've had in a long time, because I have this amazing relationship with my children. I don't know what happened, but my children finally realized that, hey, Dad is a great source for knowledge. So for the first time in many, many, many moons, my children have been calling me and confiding in me. And when I talk to you guys, I hear some of the same things. I see Gwen and her great grandbaby. I see Carolyn and her grandkids. I see you guys doing stuff. And that's what I want to talk about. I want to talk about things that are positive for us. But in the back of my consciousness, I say that I have to do everything within my power to make my voice heard, so that your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren and my children's children, if it should go that far, will have some of the same rights and privileges that we now take for granted. So much so, all we care about is looking good, what kind of car we drive, where we live, and so forth and so on. Not wanting to admit to ourselves that in the twinkling of an eye, those same powers to be that we call our government can take it all away. That these same people that have committed these horrendous crimes have people that are willing to sacrifice themselves to help them assume the power that they so maniacally and evilly pursue. So if you don't do it for me, do it for your children's children. Do it so that the next generation can be like us, lost in the oblivion of looking good, having money in our pocket, being able to go here or there. let's not take it for granted that it's a foregone conclusion that we can always do it. Because I see the pendulum swinging the other way. I see the clock going backwards. I can't smile here and look chummy and just give you, I see what's happening. And I got to be honest with you. I'm not scared, not for me, but I'm scared for those that I can't help. I'm scared for those that I care about that I can't protect. So do me a favor. Before you go on about your business and you forget what I just talked about for the last 40 minutes, go to my YouTube, OMITdaLOGIC, OMITdaLOGIC. Subscribe, ring the bell, and share this, please. So that maybe, just maybe, I don't sound like Chicken Little talking about the sky is falling. Maybe, just maybe, one more person will hear my voice and realize how dire this situation is and share it with someone in their language. Because not everybody get it when I talk. I don't try to be warm and fuzzy for the multitudes. I chose not to do this for money. I chose to do it because I am blessed beyond measure. But I'm scared for those that have less. I'm scared for those that have not been trained to protect themselves. I'm scared for those of us who have our heads in the sand and have that luxury to be living in a $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 house, to have 2 or 3 cars in the parkway. I didn't say garage, I say parkway. Because some of us have driveways long enough to be a little street within itself. Go to my YouTube, OMITdaLOGIC. Subscribe, ring the bell, share this with someone. And before I go, let me just tell you what I always say. Don't be so afraid of dying, because that's why a lot of people, they say, but what if? I tell you this. When that idiot walked into the Dollar Tree, that was his third choice. He had been 2 other places prior to that, but it's the perfect example. Cowards are going to look for the meek. When they have to deal with a force to be reckoned with, they're going to leave your street. They're going to leave your children's house, and they're going to go to the ones that's unprotected first. They're going to go to the ones who are unprepared first. It is what it is. Some of us came up in some rough neighborhoods, and now we celebrating because we got over. Some of us come from some third world countries, and we celebrate how we living. How you living? I'm living my best life. Ain't going back and forth. Yeah, you can. Don't be so afraid to die that you forget to live for a purpose. Because the one thing about this game called life, nobody leaves alive. I don't have a death wish, but the God I believe in, That's my faith. And I'm going to do it my way. And if you do that for me, I'll see you next week. St. Baptiste time, St. Baptiste place. And one more time before I go. Wish you love. I wish you peace. 2 fingers to the sky. And like your man, hair grease. I'm out of here, folks. I'm sorry it was so depressing. But hey, this is the world in which we live. Imagine how our parents felt. Imagine the things that they went through. So that we could have the sense of joy, prosperity, and oblivion. I'm out of here. Good night. Love you to death. All you got to do is love me back. Who out of those groups will be king? Shanghai. Ha. They all have their own spacing. They all have, of the 3 countries, the poorest country with all the economic sanctions is Russia. So the only way Russia can get rich again is by taking all of those other Baltic and Balkan countries back. One of the reasons they start with Ukraine is because Ukraine has resources, foreign resources that Russia can call its own. And that's economic power. The EU got to step up, because if they get Ukraine today, then the countries that used to be Czechoslovakia and Yugoslavia and all of these other, Romania and all of that, everything that was under the Russian umbrella, the USSR, all of those Soviet republics, they will be again. Hopefully not in our lifetime. I'm going to keep on talking about it. Love you folks to death, man. Have a good night. If I depressed the shit out of you, huh?